Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanwo TV on VidMe. Now, I'm going to discuss a subject now which probably I'm going to disagree with most VidMe users about, because I'm going to refer to Alex Jones and his interview with Robert David Steele, the former CIA agent. And this has become a bit of a scandal within the sphere of the alt-right. But what's happened is, now Alex Jones, I've got to first say, has been influential on me in the past, because Alex Jones was one of the media pioneers within the conspiracy theory community, which does overlap with the alt-right but is not a part of it, it's separate. And I've always been more on the conspiracy theory side, although I do accept that the alt-right has some things to say. But Alex Jones began as a pure conspiracy theorist. He launched his InfoWars radio, and then there was the TV network and the general media network in the 1990s. So he's one of the first people to do this sort of thing on a conspiratorial level, and as a result he became very famous. You know, you're familiar with his trademark style, his loud voices, the way he shouts at the microphone, "You liberal scum!" You know, and the answer to 1984 is 1776. He's become quite a character. In fact, when he claimed now in a recent, unfortunately he's going through a divorce with his wife, and he's claimed that it was a persona. It's basically a media persona that he's putting on. I wish him luck. I mean, divorce hearings and things like that, and custody of the kids. Those are never nice things. But I do hope, I do wish him luck with that. But I don't think that the way he behaves on the air, whether it's real or whether it's an affectation, has anything to do with his ability to be a good father. But of course the feminists will have their way, and you know they like to just say there's no such thing as a good father, etc. So I hope Alex gets on alright with that. Now, Alex has protested against the Bilderberg group, Bohemian Grove. I mean, I met him once at the Bilderberg group protest when the Bilderberg group was in Watford. And there was about, I think it was a good 1,500 people, 3,000, some people said 3,000 people turned up to that. It was a brilliant event. I mean, it used to be Jim Tucker and his dog. Now, he's controversial, of course, especially within the alt-right, because he believes that there was a cover-up over the Oklahoma City bombings, Sandy Hook, etc. But he used to subject people to bullhorning. Now, bullhorning was something that several people have copied, but Alex Jones pioneered. He used to turn up at their home or their offices with a megaphone and basically yell insults at them through it. Now, his views have changed over the years, specifically since about 2012, I think, that he returned to a more conventional political focus, which is what he was originally. He was originally in the Republicans, and he worked for the media in the Republican Party. But he has become one of the stars of this emergent alt-right phenomenon. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say he's not really alt-right, he's alt-light. You know, Richard Spencer is really alt-right, Dr. David Duke, Jared Taylor, these people who are race realists and who are basically ethno-nationalists. You have to be an ethno-nationalist to be alt-right. So Milo's not really alt-right. But Alex, whether he's alt-light or whatever he is generally considered a part of this alt-right phenomenon. He supported Trump. He actually had Trump on his show. It was amazing that Donald Trump was actually on his show. I never thought that would ever happen. A presidential candidate would be on the Alex Jones show. I'm sure in the days when Alex was a conspiracy theorist, nobody would ever have guessed it. Unfortunately, within the conspiracy sphere, there's this shill culture where basically people are saying, oh, because Alex Jones is a shill now because he had Donald Trump on his show, so he's an agent working for the government. I'll tell you what, everybody and his dog has been accused of that at some point. I've been called a shill. Now, thing about of course, Alex, he's been called a fascist, he's been called a purveyor of fake news and all these other things. That's predictable, you know. The SJWs really are not going to win any awards for originality, and they don't seem to seek any originality. They're quite happy to keep wheeling out the same epithets over and over again. Fascist, white supremacist, racist, sexist, misogynist. You know the story. Fake news is another one of these epithets. Fake news and populism, that's another one. That's another one. But Alex Jones is aware of his public image, and even when he was a conspiracy theorist, he did make an effort not to be associated with what he considers to be the more extreme elements within that movement, within the conspiracy theory movement. And unfortunately, those extreme elements include people like me. These are people who are willing to address issues such as UFOs, reptilians, and supernatural phenomena, and the political and conspiratorial issues associated with those things. There is, I think this is actually valid. I think this is a valid field of study, and it's a valid thing to be active over. I think there's an activist element to this, I think. But Alex says, no, these things repel the public from real issues. And this led him to a conflict with David Icke, where he said, oh, David Icke, he has a good line up to a point. Real meat and potato stuff. The Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds, the White House, the political system. He's right, all real, all true, all provable and demonstrable. He talks about these elitists and these globalists, but then at the end of it he says, by the way, they're all blood-drinking lizards. And it's like a turd in the punch bowl. He's got a good line up to the point that he takes a big dump right in the middle of it. And no one's going to want to drink out of that punch bowl. So even back then, he was aware of his public image. Alex Jones was. Well, what he did was, last Thursday he did a programme on a very harrowing subject, that of organised paedophilia, which is another thing I take seriously. And he interviewed a chap called Robert David Steele. Robert David Steele is a former intelligence officer with the CIA, and he told Alex that, well, he said several very interesting things, including, and some very, very, very upsetting things, if they're true, that the reason this happens to children is, one of the reasons is that the bodies of the children are used to harvest organs, but also chemicals from the children's bodies, which they use. But then he said something far more extraordinary, so have a look at this.
Yes, it's an anti-aging thing, and this may strike your listeners as way out, but we actually believe that there is a colony on Mars that is populated by children who were kidnapped and sent into space on a 20-year ride. So that once they get to Mars, they have no alternative but to be slaves on the Mars colony. There's all kinds of.
Well, look, I know 90% of the NASA missions are secret, and I was told by high-level NASA engineers that you have no idea. There's so much stuff going on, but then it goes off into all that. I mean, that's the kind of thing the media jumps on. But
now, one thing you see there, first of all, is this guy, Robert David Steele, who is a former intelligence officer. I've checked his background. He's got a Wikipedia page even. Wikipedia never lies, of course. But I've checked a bit more about him. Yeah, he is who he says he is, and he says this extraordinary thing in all seriousness, without some silly grin on his face. He's not trolling Alex Jones. But Alex, of course, as you can see, he was very alarmed. He responded by immediately interrupting. I mean, Alex's style is to constantly interrupt and interject for almost every sentence that his guest says. He'll interject and put his point of view before allowing the guest to continue. But I mean, he obviously cuts off Steele and says this thing about, he brings up space missions. So he wants to be generous and say, yeah, I know NASA lies about space missions, but if you go off onto this kind of thing, the media will jump on it. So he immediately tries to rein in this discussion. And the thing is, the media did jump on it. If you look at all kinds of things in the mainstream media about this, and indeed, Sargon of Akkad has done a video about this. I'm sure you're familiar with him if you're on VidMe. I subscribe to him, and I do watch his videos on YouTube and VidMe, along with Dave Cullen and people like that. He's part of this sort of skeptic anti-SJW scene. There's Rin McKaylis and people like that. I'm sure you're familiar with these people. Now, he made a video about that, and he commented on what was probably the most astonishing development from this whole situation. And this was that NASA went and made an official response. They did. Well, the Daily Beast reported this first. It was picked up by other by other outlets. But the Daily Beast they contacted someone called Guy Webster, who is at NASA. I actually went to the NASA website and checked. Yes, he is an official of NASA. And he commented and he said, there are no humans on Mars. There are no active rovers on Mars. Sorry. There are no humans on Mars. There are active rovers on Mars. There was a rumour going around last week that there weren't, but there are. But there are no humans. This is only a stupid rumour on the internet. And I'm thinking to myself, I read this and I think, okay, that's NASA's official position on what was said. But why on earth would NASA even think of even commenting on this matter? I mean, it took them 30 years to even address the people who were saying that the moon landings might be faked. People like Marcus Allen, etc. You'd think that this sort of thing would be way beneath them even to say something. And Sargon of Akkad actually makes this Sargon puts this in his in this video. He basically he puts this down to the influence of the new independent media. He says, well, basically, it shows how powerful Alex Jones is. He says, it's funny how powerful they consider Alex Jones to be, though. Come on, nobody needs to say anything about this. So he says that basically it's because Alex Jones is so influential that NASA have to comment. That shows the influence of the independent media, which Sargon himself should rejoice at, as I do. And he says, oh, look, really, what are people going to say? Come on, NASA. All right, we noticed there's you have like a $500 million black budget. We noticed that you haven't stayed within your limits, and you've overspent. And we noticed that you haven't fulfilled your diversity quota and all these other things. We noticed you're not selling Diet Coke in your canteen to the tourists. But what about all these children who are slaves on Mars? What are you going to do about that? And so Sargon is basically saying, well, this is so ridiculous, it's so stupid, it can't possibly be true, and then no one's going to take it seriously. So therefore, why NASA even commenting on it? That's his point. Now, I'm going to be very controversial here, because now I know that probably most of my viewers are alt-right rather than conspiracy theorists. But I'm going to suggest that maybe we should take Mr. Steele's accusations seriously. And if you bear with me, don't switch off yet. But it's a sad fact of life that children do disappear in vast numbers. I mean, there's an article by Brian Gerrish of UK column called 80 Maddies a Month, which refers to the fact that all this attention was paid on Madeleine McCann, a young girl who went missing in Portugal 10 years ago, a British girl. But this, unfortunately, is a very, very regular thing. Children go missing all the time, and as the title of the article suggests, there's at least 80 children in Britain go missing every month, and many of them are never seen again. That's a sad fact of life. Who is taking these children, and where do they go? That's the question. We should also take seriously the presence of the secret space program, and this is something that's been far more successful than anyone has publicly than the space program we know of has been the publicly admitted space program. That is the one which sends rockets into orbit, the ISS, the Apollo, landing men on the moon, sending probes to distant planets, things like that. That's the public space program. And of course it uses rockets, it uses conventional technology. The secret space program has used advanced technology such as free energy, anti-gravity. Now, I'll provide some links for you in the show notes or in the description box, which will give you some background onto that. But it is something real. It does exist. So if you're not familiar with it, please do check out the background links before you dismiss me altogether as another loony. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is I have good reason to think there are in fact human bases on Mars. There are established human people living on Mars right now, and other planets, and many other heavenly bodies, including the moon and other places. Again, I describe in detail in the background links. Now, if you combine these two notions together, the children disappearing and the secret space program, the accusations by Robert David Steele are perfectly feasible. And if the shadow government is really kidnapping children and sending them to be slaves in outer space colonies, then don't the public deserve to know that? And doesn't this need to be exposed so the children can be set free and brought home? I would say yes, absolutely. And as I said, this. If you're not familiar with the subject, you're going to laugh at me. But please do educate yourself before you completely dismiss what I've said. So therefore, Alex Jones and Sargon of Akkad, they need to address this as well, and they need to not stop laughing and dismissing things like this. So we'll see what happens. But thank you for watching Hapanwo TV on VidMe. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order.